Per usual, everyone else shown for educational purposes only. It's not intended as financial advice. It is Setup Sunday. Let's take a look at some charts here. The flows are flowing on the ETFs, especially for BTC. We've got a positive 2.2 billion coming in last week. A lot of people saying there's a lot of paper Bitcoin out there. It's not that. It's just there are a lot of people selling. A lot of people selling for all sorts of reasons. Some people are selling and buying the ETFs. Some people are participating in the basis trade. And some people are just selling because they've been holding BTC a while and they want to do stuff. Can't blame them. Eventually, if the if the buy exceeds the selling, which it looks like it might, we will continue to push higher. ETH, not as impressive, but it's off zero at the very least. Those are weekly flows there for ETH. And this is kind of the full ball of wax if DJT is no longer in the austerity camp and he is in the abundance camp, and we are bringing rates back to 1% or ZERP. You know, he was joking about ZERP, half joking, or NERP, actually, he was joking about. But at any rate, he's going to bring a Fed guy in who's going to bring rates lower. And he might do that in September or October as far as announce who it is, and then he's going to have whoever it is talking over Powell at any chance they get until March next year. So the markets are absolutely going to start pricing that in because they have to. They have to price in who the next person's going to be. And if the big Trump tax bill passes, that is also going to just keep adding to the debt. And higher we go. Liquidity is higher. Looking at funding, it is flat to negative here on BTC. On ETH, pretty flat in the grand scheme of things. ETH rarely gets negative, but it certainly is not in those crazy, crazy levels where people are paying an arm and a leg to be long. Definitely not there yet. And then Solana, same deal. Just basically zeroed out for Solana. Solana has had some negative periods. We're not at such time here, but there has been a couple negative days. So all this is to say, look, on the spot side, there's a ton of non-net buying, just in the grand scheme of things. You know, it's net inflows, but what does it really mean? I don't know, because there's a bunch of people doing a bunch of things. Funding is flat to negative. And if we are consolidating for a move higher, which it looks like we're trying to, we tried to break down and didn't. Okay, now we go higher. At least we tried to. That's what this is all about. We kept trying to head and shoulders out and just couldn't go down. And I can't be bullish until that resolves. And now it looks like that is resolving. So here we are. Q2 was a plus 31 for BTC, plus 37 for ETH. Q3 historically for BTC has been not great over the past couple of years. 2021 was a good year and 2017 was a good year. But median here is negative since 2013. And ETH, of course, does better in the first half of the year. But it has had some bangers historically, just not lately, obviously. And then if we're talking about monthly seasonality, July is a much, much, much better month than June. And August, September historically have been downright abysmal, awful, except 2017. So it would be very interesting. Not that I'm betting on this, but we'll see what July brings. It would be interesting if August is actually a great month. Historically, September has been straight up not good most of the time as far as Q3 is concerned. So between August and September, you can see why Q3 for the most part has been just kind of nothingness generally. So if I'm bullish for July, if I'm bullish based on technicals, which we'll get to here in a second, then yeah, I like beta, I like leverage beta, but I like that on stuff that's working, not like alts broadly. Like alts can do well, but even today since 8 o'clock EST, alts are red, BTC is green. That's odd. That's not alt season. If it was alt season, BTC would be at 1%, alts would be up 2 to 5%. That's just since, 8 o'clock again, but that's what I'm seeing. So is this the optimal place to be max long? I don't know. I mean, if you thought at 93, sorry, not 93, I thought we'd go to 93, which is why I didn't do anything at 98, but you got to pick your battles, So I like picking my battle up here. I don't think I'd go ETH, ConL. I do like options fine, leverage margin, MSTUs all fine. A lot of people love the miners. They've kind of traded terribly most of the time. This may be their window where they finally do better. I don't know, but you got to really love the miners to trade those. Most people are better off either an MSTR or BITU. Not investment advice, but That's just what I've noticed based on the types of people that trade the miners. Looking at the pitchfork, since 2022, we still are inside of it. And the top side here is 130, 150 based on the range expansion higher that also matches like a pseudo resistance level on the pitchfork here. And all systems go. Nothing looks bearish whatsoever on that. If we look at an alternative cloud first, we're going to get a TKA crisscross on this. COT data is still very bullish as far as commercials. So any reservations I had about breaking below this, breaking below to 93 based on the daily cloud, all of that is, again, like a time not price thing that I talked about last week or the week before. Feels like we're going to give it a shot up here at 108. The catalyst may be the tax bill, because that's when people finally realize, okay, like nobody's serious about the debt. Nobody cares. We got to find some places to protect ourselves. There's a cup and handle here. There's an inverted head and shoulders here. I think more appropriately, it's a cup and handle just because that is what you see for continuation. It measures, again, 140, 150, whatever. There's a yearly pivot at 150. I think if we're above 120, we'll all be very happy. So the question here isn't to assume there's some sort of massive alt rally. Like there could be, there hasn't been, and that's the issue. Dominance has continued to push higher. You have to be fairly convinced the dominance is topped if you're loading the boat on alts with a BTC chart that looks like this. I don't mind a little bit of alts, but it just like this chart looks very primed here at all-time highs. And if this pulls back, alts aren't going to do better, right? They aren't going to magically be protective against downside volatility. You also have a 1050 daily crisscross there on the moving averages. So the things we needed to flip and happened. Great. Love it. Gold didn't break up. Again, it looked like it was going to break up. You had an inverted head and shoulders up there. Cloud loved it. We had a breakout of peace or whatever, and here we are. So everything else around gold that is risk on is at all-time highs. That's another reason, add that to the list, that BTC should be pushing higher here in short order. And we, of course, have the dollar, the XY, which continues to push lower lows. And that is very good for BTC, very bad for people holding dollars, as this is down, 10% since the yearly open. Next pivot here, 94.47. But the weaker this looks, the stronger BTC will look. And the more likely the Fed returns to QE and dropping rates, then I'd expect alts to start to look better. So watch total 2 when Trump announces the next Fed guy. We may see a reaction off of that. And of course, global liquidity is everything we just talked about baked into one chart. Mainly dollar weakness is what you're seeing here, but you're also seeing massive printing, and this is continuing to push highs. So there's really not much to be bearish about anymore, at least in the ultra near term. Any worrisome concerns I had about BTC breaking down just didn't happen. We bounced where we needed to. We held the cloud. We held the Kijun. We did trip some trailing stop losses. I'm fine with that. That protected me fine from downside. We didn't hit 93, which was the risk. For more ways than one, there was the cloud there, and there was also the measured move lower, depending on where and how you measured this. But we continued to make higher highs here. We bounced. So that's great. That's what you want to see. Cloud here looks great, right? There's nothing to complain about. This is a picture where you see bullish continuation. For the rest of the alts, still not really doing much. Now, ETH is above the cloud, so we'll give it that. But from this point on, it's just your personal preference. I don't think there's anything here that, to me, looks amazingly ready to go from a setup perspective. I like stuff that's above the cloud instead of below. I like stuff that is showing some strength. I do not like anything that's in a range and not doing anything. I like it the moment it gets above the range. In Ripple's case, 250. In Sol's case, above the cloud. Like, it's getting there. You can cheat it. But this could easily just not go as far when BTC breaks out. And then you're still holding a bag of junk, right? So you have to be fairly certain you're going to see Sol move for whatever reason. Some announcement, some news, some catalyst, or ETH, right? Either one, or any one of these alts. They look very middling here. Solana below the cloud. SWI bouncing still below the cloud. ADA way below the cloud. A lot of these do have a little Adam and Eve situation. You can see it there, Adam, Eve. But again, personal preference. What do you want to trade? Do you want to trade Aave? It looks okay. It looks like a giant diamond. This isn't going to break down if BTC breaks up. Certainly, I'd be mindful of that. Link looks like everything else, and we can keep going. Say, actually, aside from ETH, one of the few that is above the cloud here. Just click through these real quick. ENA scraping the bottom. LTC FET syrup. Syrup's up there an all-time high. I wouldn't expect this to outperform the market going forward just because it is up 4x from lows. So I think it's going to be tough if it keeps going. Now maybe a Genius Act passage is going to help things like Maker and Aave push higher. Maker is above the daily cloud there, still in the 3-day cloud. But I would look at the upcoming potential bills here that we have. We've got the tax bill, the Genius Act, markets framework bill, and then maybe position alts around that with hopes that you see some sort of catalyst and you see a reason for people to allocate into those alts. Because right now, most of these look basically the same. Now, if I take a very specific outlook and I say, what about Sol ETH? What does this look like here? This looks like it's trying to invert it head and shoulders. It's trying to bottom out. It's trying. You have to be fairly certain that this is real if you're going to be deep into like Sol Beta, which would be WIF. Now, I like WIF a lot, how this looks. Falling wedge, almost above the cloud, a little bit of cup and handle action. It's above Pepe in the volume there. It's creeping up a little bit. But this is probably where most people watching this video are thinking. They just don't care about BTC, fine. But they're thinking about Sol versus ETH or ETH versus Hyperliquid or whatever. But I would definitely check the relative pairs. What is your favorite beta, your favorite alt? What is the wealth effect going to be if Sol goes to 175, right? Like it should be very good for WIF. If ETH goes to 2,800, that should be very good for Pepe. But I would be careful, just like last time. Some of this stuff played out, some of it didn't. Now we're talking like way down the list. Flowkey like didn't quite make it through, right? Mog up a bunch for whatever reason. It's above the cloud, so hey, you know, it's got that going for it. I think it's just hard to have any strong feelings about alts here unless you're very, very convinced that ETH is going higher. Now, if you've been wrong about that for years, I would maybe, check that sentiment a little bit. But if you are a freshly bullish ETH individual, then yeah. But I would think of anything outside of the layer ones as leverage to the layer one and play them like that. Overall, there's still some standouts here. Not everything is as bearish as it was for the past couple of weeks. Things starting to turn around. Sol BTC bouncing a little bit. Really nothing to write home to mob out there. ETH BTC not quite above the cloud where you'd want it to be. And we'll see if BTC can break all-time highs and hold all-time highs, then what happens to alts? Very interesting to see if and why BTC breaks, like for some catalyst, bill, whatever reason. Then what do alts do? Does money still drain from alts to BTC, which is what we've seen? Or do alts finally start to wake up a little bit? We do have unemployment numbers at the end of the week, a bunch of other macro data. No trading on Friday for July 4th. That's all I have for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.